What's up, everybody? Welcome back to Taste Like Music. Jason and Joe here, reviewing another album from our Albums of the Week series. This is where we let patrons choose records for us to review. Not only are we reviewing them, but everyone in our Discord is listening to them and rating them as well. So you get to pick a record and get a bunch of feedback from a lot of different people. So check out our Patreon. It's linked in the video description. Today we are doing a record that was chosen for us by Will, who is Australian and has a band called Melvick Center that made Joe's Top 100 last year, top records of the year. So go check out Will. And Will is more into the punk and stuff than most of the Discord, and I might even venture to say ourselves. So this is maybe a bit heavier. It's, I don't know, you call it metalcore. It's definitely punk influenced. There's a bit of metal, hardcore.
Like post-hardcore, I guess. I forget what your music says. Wikipedia says it's punk rock, but it's not really. It's sort of in a weird, like genre-less space that is sort of in between a bunch of different genres, I think.
Well, we should say what it is. It is Supporting Cast, a 2009 record from the band Propagandhi. I think is how you say the band name. They're Canadian. And what do you think of it?
Interesting one. I knew some Propagandhi because my one friend Galen was big into punk and sort of hardcore stuff back in high school. So he had a bunch of like the Split records and stuff. And I think I heard one of their real early ones, probably probably like Propagandhi slash FYP, which was a split between two bands in 95, Propagandhi and FYP. And back in those days, they were super like just punk, like they were a punk band. So I was kind of surprised to hear this album which has some punk in it, but it's definitely like a post-hardcore, really fast, really twisty, ferocious type of music. And it doesn't really have like that bounce of punk. Like it's not, there's no like kind of happy backbeat to it. It's just very heavy jackhammer drumming all over the place, very twisty guitars. Not a lot of dynamics. I mean, there's some slower parts, but for the most part, it's just, pedal to the metal, in your face type of stuff, which I don't mind. I don't mind this style at all. I kind of like it. It's definitely a change up from what we usually listen to, but I think it's pretty cool. I like Night Letters, the lead off track. It's just very like twitchy. Those guitars, I didn't like that style back in the day because I just sort of I couldn't wrap my head around it. But the riffage, the guitar parts that are just all over the place, really fast, constantly shifting. I kind of dig that now. The drumming's awesome, just really powerful, really fast. Songs like Supporting Cast, kind of, the same thing. It has like a slower bridge, but it's really just, really fast, really powerful, really loud, angry guitar. Same with Tertium non datur, datur, whatever it's called. Some more really cool guitar parts, keeps you off balance. And I mean, I know Jason doesn't like this. I'm just gonna call it right now because these songs they're like non sequiturs. Like they just go off in directions that don't really make sense a lot of the time. And you really have to like those kind of songs, like the ones that just whip you around back and forth, and you have no idea where you're going. But I love Dear Coach's Corner, probably my favorite on the album. That Don Cherry introduction's hilarious. And right into a ripping guitar solo, more of that tricky riffage. And it's weird. The album does shift a little bit towards punk, kind of in the middle. Potemkin City Limits, Without Love, The Bangers Embrace, a little less technical, guitar parts and all over the placeness. A little more like the punk kind of, a little bouncier, a little more hooks, I think, on those. And you get your usual social, commentary. The band's probably vegan, probably straight edge, definitely left wing, if not socialist. So if you're into that kind of, lyrics, perfect album for you. Very socially conscious. I don't really care. I just like the tempos. I like the fast, heavy songs. Lead singer Chris Hanna. Another probably stumbling block for people. He doesn't have like a really melodic voice, kind of shouty, but I mean, I don't mind that type of thing. It could be like, I mean, he could be a little more interesting. I think that would help the music, but it didn't really hurt it for me. And it's not like really catchy. It's not really poppy. It's not like pop punk. There's not a ton of like immediate riffs, and there's not a lot of like choruses. Very few like big choruses that maybe people expect from like a punk adjacent album. But there's some dynamics. They slow it down. They drop everything out. The outro to Funeral Procession is pretty good, a little more atmospheric. And I mean, this album is definitely not going to convert anyone. Definitely not the folkies in our Discord. But I think people who like the harder edged punk, thrash, hardcore type music will probably dig it. And I'm at a low 4 stars. I like it a good bit. 2009, I don't really like much from 2009. So I was thinking about where this would land in with what I already have. And I think it would be, top 25 probably. I like it. I just like the speed and the power, the rawness, my kind of music from the 2000s anyway. So yeah, I like it. Oh, and it was produced by Bill Stevenson, who's the drummer for The Descendants, which is an odd sort of doesn't make a lot of sense because they were pretty power pop punk, and this doesn't really have much of that sound, but I don't know. He did a good job.
Yeah, so I saw people saying that I was going to hate this, and I expected to hate it completely, and I didn't hate it. I think a lot of the guitar work's really cool. I actually like the guitar tones a decent bit. I like the energy. The vocals, I don't mind. I'm kind of neutral on the vocals. I think they're passable and they do an okay job. My biggest problem, especially early in the record, is the drumming. I I found the drumming to be pretty headache inducing, especially on those first like 3 tracks, which are the more metal kind of leaning part of the record. It's like, dude, put a little space between your snare hits. It's just a jackhammer coming at you, and that was rough. That kind of turned me off a bit. But as the record goes on, it does kind of lighten up a little. The drums kind of lay back a bit more, groove a little more. I like Dear Coach's Corner a decent bit. The blazing solos right out of the gate after the intro, and I thought the lyrics were pretty interesting on that one. Potemkin City Limits, that one I think is kind of bordering on pop punk a little bit. Probably the most melodic track on the record. Funeral Procession, Little Bad Religion-esque, but maybe a little extra speedy. And yeah, I thought the Banger's Embrace was another pretty catchy tune. It's really there's a lot about it that I don't like, but I thought it was fine. And as it went on, it got better. Last Will and Testament I thought was pretty cool. The hidden track was pretty cool as well. So it's hard to say I'd ever come back to this, or probably anything else by this band, but I didn't hate it. So this is like exactly a 2.5 for me, like right down the middle, all like pretty indifferent to it. If the drums were the way they are on the first 3 tracks through the whole record, I probably would have had it much lower. But the fact that the drums kind of let up a little, I thought everything else about it was fine, and there were some catchy moments, and yeah, it was all right.
Yeah, that's your 2.5 is like my 3, I would say. So that makes sense.
Yeah, 2.5 for me is just like neutral.
Hmm. Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah, it's probably better than people would expect.
Yeah, I think so. I hope so. It was an interesting listen. I'll say that. It was fun. Well, let us know what you think of this record. Drop it down in the comments, hit the like button, subscribe to the channel, hit the bell for notifications. Thanks for watching. We'll see you in the next one.